felt it, that pull towards something bigger. The patterns in energy, intuition, and consciousness that can't be coincidence. Welcome to the Unity Code, where science meets energy and spirit, where curiosity becomes consciousness and magic becomes measurable. I'm Nicole Pope, soul integration guide and former corporate executive turned spiritual experimenter. Here we break down the energetic patterns beneath everyday life so you can understand how they work, test them in real time, and use them to transform the way you live, lead, and connect. This is a space for learning, experimenting, innovating, and implementing tools that bridge science and spirit, turning knowledge into practice and practice into transformation. Together, we decode the frequencies that shape reality, explore the science behind energy, and test what happens when spirit and community align. This is the Unity Code. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Unity Code. This is one of those car channeling sessions. I have a nice little drive up ahead of me, and I've had some really interesting revelations about spirit guides that I wanted to share for you. So if you're thinking differently about guides and what to use them for, because actually, did you know that my number one podcast episode is how to meet your spirit guides? And I love that episode so much because I think there's so much amazing knowledge and information about how to meet your guides out there, because a lot of people, again, expect guides to come in a certain way, which makes it very difficult to perceive guides in the way that's going to be easiest for you. Because as always, when we have expectations, like we're going to need some sort of an acronym with expectations, because it's just like assume, right? You're going to make an ass out of you and me. And the same thing happens with expectations. Expectations inevitably are going to lead to failure. No matter who you are, no matter what type of reading. And so when you're able to drop your expectations and just trust that the right information is going to come through in the right way and that you're not missing anything and it's complete, I mean, that's the ideal state to work with guides. And that's the best way to remove your bias, because inevitably expectations come from where, everybody? Where do they come from? They come from your mind. They come from the pattern of trying to predict the past to create the present and the future. And they come from this perspective of, did you hear the beeping behind me, by the way? That was just people getting mad at me for not going on a very busy road. He has the expectation that I'm going to go across 4 lanes of traffic when it's not safe to do so. And I think that's adorable. I will go now, though. So I do want to talk about guides in that way today, about how expectations can really flub you up, but also how to work with your guides effectively. How do I work with my guides? How do I see the idea of spirit guide readings evolving as I'm growing into my own energy, into this new version, into this new odd dynamic that I want to talk about with all of you, that is essentially vibrational codes as well as timelines and futures. And so let me take you down journey lane for a moment here to talk about how I used to work with my guides. And this is very, very interesting because I'm actually in the month of teaching spirit guides to my spirit communication group. We've already surpassed energetics, clair, psychic, mediumship, right? And now we're into spirit guides. And I'm typing out essentially what is the best way that I like to teach guides, teach communicating with guides. And so we did a little bit of an open reading in the first class. And then the next class, which is scheduled for tomorrow, that class is going to be focused on how do you read animal guides? How do you pull in multiple guides? How do guides use stories to help relay information? And as I'm typing up this class, which I think is essential, and I think it is a really solid foundation to begin the language of spirit communication, especially with guides. However, there is so much more to working with guides than I thought was ever possible. And I think it's really interesting because there's a lot of in-depth modalities on mediumship, right? Mediumship, you have spirit art, you have pet communication, you have ancestral mediumship, right? You have living mediumship. We will talk about that at some point on this podcast. And there's so many different variations of mediumship. And, even with everything that's out there, I still think there's more to innovate. So I just certainly don't think that what's out there is the standard of best practices, nor where I think mediumship will go in the future. And it's the same with, for example, the Akashic Records, because there are books on the Akashic Records modality and what is and how. Hang on, before I go to spirit guides, and how, number one, you access the records, how you use the records for current life healing, how you use the records for past life, right? How you can use the records to get perspective on potential futures. And so there's a lot of in depth. I mean, if you search Amazon, or if you go to your small local bookseller, if you do that and you ask them to look and get you a book on Akashic Records, I mean, there's going to be hundreds to choose from. If you do an Akashic Records search on YouTube, TikTok, any of these channels or teachers, you're going to get so many responses on how you can utilize the Akashic Records depending on what purpose you want them for. And I don't see that same diversity in the spirit guide space. And maybe this is something that I meant to talk about stand up. I don't know what this looks like, everybody, but I know I'm certainly not the person who's going to define what it's like to look for spirit guides in the way maybe I am, in the way that Linda Howe did. But we can use our guides for so much. And I feel like spirit guides are my number one space to access unlimited information. And what I see the spirit guide vibration as is this beautiful middle lane, this middle vibration. And when I say middle vibration, I mean accessible. It's a very accessible vibration and destination to essentially tap into all of the information for mediumship, all of the information for Akashic Records, but in a vibration that's easier to access, in a tone that is fun and friendly and casual, that I think a lot of people are missing out on. Because the truth of the matter is that I can use my guides for everything. And I think this is the really, really interesting topic or point of conversation with guides, is that there's nothing off limits. And I know there's nothing off limits in the spirit world, but I think the main difference is that guides are mainly focused on you and your journey and your ability to achieve your soul's path, your blueprint this lifetime. But doesn't that tend to be what we use the Akashic Records for, right? Don't we tend to use mediumship as that space to get advice and feedback from our loved ones about our journeys, to relieve the guilt that we face? And so for me, I think spirit guides are a completely underutilized source of soul level information that people tend to breeze by and almost minimize. But I don't know why. And maybe there's not a realization out there about how broad the information can be when we talk about spirit guides. So this is what I'm feeling is happening. And by the way, I live my life 24/7 by my guides. 24/7. I know a lot of people that will sit in the Akashic Records all day. I know a lot of people that will call in their departed loved ones all day. I am of the vibration where I'm constantly talking to my guides, period. And the vibration that I'm feeling, because I'm so used to constantly conversing with my guides, is when something needs attention, I feel it. I feel the energy shift. And what I just felt in that moment was, I need to give you some examples, and that's what I'm doing right now. But for example, the ways that I use my guides for mediumship is, by the way, aren't your departed loved ones your guides anyway? Most of them, the people that pass on and move into the other side, aren't they all helping your soul in its journey? And so you can access the same people on the other side, but from a spirit guide perspective. And so a really lovely story. This is just totally random. And again, I don't necessarily walk around in the mediumship vibration, which is probably why I'm not picking up on everyone's departed loved ones all the time. I'm mainly picking up my guides. Well, one day when I was at TJ Maxx and I was just doing my regular thing, TJ Maxx is such a great store, Home Goods, whatever you want to call it, Marshalls. I think it's technically Marshalls. As I'm walking around Marshalls, I get this word in my head. I get these words in my head that say, "Go check out the jackets." And I'm like, "It's really weird. Okay, I will go check out the jackets." And by the way, this is my departed mother-in-law that's coming through as my guide. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're best friends in the spirit world. And so she comes through as my guide because I'm tapped into the guide vibration, and and she's telling me, "Go check out the jackets." So I walk back a few aisles. I going through the jackets, and don't you know what popped out in the middle of this clothes rack of hundreds of jackets is an incredible maroon or burgundy. Not really. I'm not a color person. I'm so sorry, Stephanie, who's listening. A beautiful dark wine plum, whatever this is, colored moto jacket, which is my fucking jam. And it is leather and it is gorgeous and it is imported from a brand from Paris. And when I'm talking about this leather, it is not like that cheap leather or like, all the other leather companies that you buy these cheap jackets are and they're mass produced. No, this is the leather that feels like butter, everybody. Right in the middle of Marshall's. This is easily a $500 jacket at Marshall's for like $120. It had the feeling of a $500 jacket. And then I can't remember the exact phrase, but when I post this video and when I post this podcast episode, I will absolutely be sure to put the picture up. But inside that jacket was large white letters that were words specifically for me. And if I remember correctly, I believe I bought this jacket right around the time of my birthday. So my spirit team always finds ways to give me these beautiful birthday gifts. And so just by being able to like tap into my team constantly, being able to tap into my departed mother-in-law and being able to receive that message in that sign in a physical gift format, this is how I walk around. I'm constantly listening for the signs, listening for the direction, listening for the messages of love, of hope, whatever else I need at that moment. And they constantly guide me every day through life. In the same vein, and we're going to get to this topic at some point. I'm not quite formulated in this program yet. At the same time, they'll teach me about the lessons that I need to learn. So the other day, I think I was on my way to Costco and the two gentlemen next, did I repeat this story? God, did I repeat the story again? I can't remember what I say where. Everybody, I'm so sorry. I have so many discussions with so many people. I apologize if this is a repeat. As I'm sitting at the stoplight and the two cars next to me are two men hanging out of the car at each other, arguing at each other, yelling at each other in the middle of this red light, in the middle of this downtown area. I got so uncomfortable being next to them and being the car to the left of both of them that I physically turned my body and my head and I like shut down my energy because I didn't want to feel that. And then in that moment, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm not part of this. Like, yeah, that's a weird thing for them to do, but I'm not a part of this. I'm not going to get in trouble. It's not my fight, etc. So then I like literally asked my team, why did I just cower away and close my energy down from that experience? And they immediately drew me to my childhood where my parents would argue. And this is not a reality, but this is the story that I created in my head, that they would get divorced. We wouldn't have any money. I wouldn't be able to live, right? Where would I go? I'd be between two houses. And so my job, obviously, as a Libra growing up, a little girl that's a Libra growing up, was to balance the energy in the house. So I would always be the median between my parents when they would fight. And they're like, so to you, arguing and fighting is a trigger because that directly correlates to your safety. And now that you know that, you can let it go. And I was like, fuck. Here's the whole reason I'm a conflict avoider. Didn't even know that, everybody. And so it's things like this that my team constantly gives me guidance and directions on. I don't need to sit and I don't need to meditate, right? Because when you're tapped into your guides, you can ask questions and get these downloads all the time, all the time. And I have to tell you that most of the clients who come to see me and or want to work with me, they always ask, how am I so tapped in all the time? How do I hear all these messages all the time? And I guess, like, I don't know if I know that the answer to that, besides I'm constantly at the spirit guide vibration, waiting for signs, signals, messages. But I've trained myself to be at that level, as well as I've trained myself to listen and trust my team no matter what they say. And so when you're making yourself available to that vibration and you're open to receiving and trusting what they give you, then they're going to give you more. You're cementing that vibration into your own. And so this is why I think this spirit guide vibration is so great, because it's naturally higher than mediumship. It is very easy for me to live in this vibration 24/7. It's very comfortable for me. I realize that not everyone is comfortable in this vibration, but it doesn't mean that if you find a spiritual communication modality or vibration that you're most comfortable with, maybe you can talk to your mom all the time, right? Maybe you talk to your Akashic guides all the time. If you're oh God, if you're grounded enough to be in the Akashic Records all day, whoo, I want to know you. Send me a message. And so it's not about me. Let me see if I can okay, hang on. Before I go down that rabbit hole, nope, this is going to be the next podcast episode. They're going to have me record another one. So I'm going to save it for the next one. But I think this is the reality of what it is to work with guides for me, is to trust, to listen, and just, I don't know, let the magic come to me on a daily basis, because the more that I open up to this, the more that they show me that I'm in the right vibration. And the last example I want to leave you with, which is something that I've just recently come to this realization of, and it's wild. Like, this realization is wild. And this has been happening for a little while, but finally the pattern has cemented in my brain, because that's what my team will do. If I don't understand it immediately, they will inevitably give me more breadcrumbs, more information, and then I know eventually it will all make sense. I know that. So I recently came to the realization that, God, can I knock on wood right now? I'm going to try to knock on my car. I came to the realization that when I am supposed to be somewhere, there will be a front row parking spot for me. Isn't that wild? This has happened at least a dozen times to me. And so every time I'll go out to the local sushi place, the first spot will be open. And it's a very small parking lot. Like, there's probably only 20 spots in this parking lot. And then every time I go there, the first spot is open. Every time I go to the local coffee shop or the local Thai place, first spot is open, right? I mean, this is over and over and over again, to the point where I've finally figured out this pattern. I've finally figured this out. Dropped my daughter off at school on her birthday, got the first parking spot. Thank you, Spirit, for that little gift for Abby. And so a really good example of that is on Friday night, I had my kids and we were in that vibration. You know what I'm talking about, where I was just like, it was sticky. We were tired. It was the end of the week. It was the first week after they had started school, after being, gone for winter break and now they're back for 5 days. So needless to say, the first Friday after that was rough. My son wanted to go out to eat. I didn't, my daughter didn't. And I said, you know what? Let's just do the thing where we get dressed, we get out of our spandex, right? Get out of our leggings and we'll go. And we'll just go wherever we're supposed to go. So my son and daughter agreed to go get sushi. I pulled in the parking lot. That first spot was not open. I said, we're not going here. I literally said that. I said, we're not going here because that spot should be open if we're supposed to be here. So we ended up turning around, getting on the highway, and driving to Worcester instead. And so we're driving to Worcester, and I am getting this feeling to get off the highway. And I'm like, that's weird. Like the exit they're giving me this energy at. I'm like, there's no restaurants near here. I'm like, no. I'm at least going to get closer downtown and I'm going to keep going closer to the restaurants instead. And so they eventually give me the feeling like, get off here. And I said, okay. So I got off there and I was like, oh, let's try this restaurant that's right off the highway. And there was no parking spot. I was like, well, we're not going there either. And so I take a left, I take a right. I don't even know where the fuck I am. I know Worcester very well, but like at this point, it's one of those back roads where I don't know where I am. And all of a sudden it just dumps out. I'm following my intuition and it dumps out right on this street where there is a new pizza place that's brick oven. God, I love pizza. And it has candlepin bowling in the basement. It's exactly what I was looking for. I forgot this place existed because I wanted somewhere where we could go, where we get food, we could have entertainment, and I didn't have to go anywhere because oh my God, why can't all places be like this? That's the ideal state of a night out now that I'm in my 40s with 2 kids. Like, I don't want to be jumping everywhere. I don't want to go to a million places. I just want to go park at one place, be there for a few hours, and then go home. I forgot this place existed. I literally pulled down onto the street exactly across from it. I was like, oh shit, that's where we're supposed to be. And so I turn and I go to park in the little parking lot, the little public parking lot that's right across the street from it. Wouldn't you fucking know? The first parking spot is open. Right? Right? And so I'm going to tell you, if you don't work with your guides, if you don't follow those little nuggets of gold, either from your intuition, your higher self, or your guides, you are fucking missing out. And if you're not sure how to do that, I do have an intuition class that is going to tap more into your higher self, but you are still going to learn the language of spirit, which and how you connect to your higher self, which is spirit. And so it gives you the foundation for how to have these conversations, how to engage better with your higher self, your team, so that you can receive these signals, these guidance, this love, and make your life so much easier. So much easier. And so I guess that's where I'm going to land this episode, the second spirit guide episode that now I've recorded for this. And I have another one coming up in my brain that once I'm done my errand, I will pop back on here and do another card channeling session to record that. Because I think it's so interesting working with guides. And I will talk about the journey of what I know now for people versus what I knew then. Which I kind of started on this and then I'll wrap that up in the next episode. But I just want to thank you all for being here. You are all amazing souls and you bet your ass you have a whole flippin' team on the other side that are your guides, that are rooting for you, that want you to have the most amazing life. Oh, and there's the beeping again. We started with the beeping. We're ending with the beeping. I send you all the love and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care. You've just tapped into something powerful, the code beneath it all. This isn't about following the rules. It's about learning the codes so well that you know how to break them, how to rewrite your energy, your patterns, and your life. Together, we're not just learning the codes, we are rewriting what's possible. If this episode resonated with you, please leave a review and share it. Every ripple expands the collective frequency and helps others discover this powerful and transformative work. And also, please come join the Unity Collective where we explore, experiment, and evolve the way we understand spirit, energy, and consciousness together. I'm Nicole Pope, your Soul Integration Guide. Thank you so much for helping me explore and innovate what's possible.